Hi, welcome to OnShape Lesson 1.
Today we're going to go over an introduction over what OnShape is, kind of the interface, and we're going to dive into actually starting to create a little parts using 2D sketches and the extrude feature. So this right here is what your home screen will look like, or something similar. To create a new document, which is where all of our work is going to take place, we'll click the little drop down here and do document. And for this one, we're just going to name it. I'm just going to name it uh, lesson one and toy blocks. So now that I have a new document, you can see that I have three different planes. These planes are what we're going to be using to put our 2D sketches on. Up here at the top are our features. So we have extrude, revolve, sweep, loft, and then many more. We'll go over most of these throughout the course of the next couple of units. Now I'll go ahead and get started on creating our arch block. So to start, um, because parametric modeling starts with 2D sketches and goes to 3D, we're going to start with a sketch. I'll click that. Now, once I select the sketch, we need to select a plane, which um, to actually put it on. It'd be like choosing the piece of paper that we're going to write on. So in this case, I want it to be on the front plane this time. Now you can see that when I click, we have this outline of the box of sketch one to show that it is on the front plane. So a couple of shortcut keys that I like to use. I like to hide my planes. So I'm going to hit the P key to hide my planes. And then I'm going to hit in for normal to. What normal to means is that it's just perpendicular um, to you, like you're looking at a paper to write on it. It makes it a little bit easier to see than viewing things at an angle. So now what we want to do is we want to create the side of our arch. So basically, like, so we'll have like a rectangle, and then we'll have a little semicircle underneath, like that. Think of kind of like a bridge. So to start, I'm going to use my rectangle tool, and now as I go to draw on my sketch, you can see the little um, orange boxes and the little gray boxes. So that P, what that means is it's coincident, which means that it's on top of and it's like attached to. That's a really important uh, constraint that will help constrain your sketch. A couple others is if you hover over a spot and move up or down, you see a dotted line, and that means that that will make it vertical relative to that point. And then you could also go left or right, and that would make it horizontal to that point. In this case, I want it to actually be on top of, so I'll just go click on it. And now, as you can see, as I move my mouse around, I'm creating a rectangle. So what I can do is once I click, now you see this rectangle box pop up, and now I can actually type in a dimension to dimension how long I want that line. So I want that one 6 inches, and I'm going to click enter. And now, once I do that, it actually moves to my height. And I want my height to be 3 inches, and click enter. And now you can see that everything's white. So you want everything to be white or black if you have the lighter color scheme. And that means that your sketch is fully constrained. The best modeling practice is to have your sketch fully constrained. Sometimes you might not have it, and things will work without it being fully constrained, but it is best practice. So now that I have my rectangle, I want to go ahead and continue on to create my actual arch like that. So I want a semicircle on the bottom here. And honestly, the easiest way to do that is to actually just use a circle for now. So now, as I come in, as I hover over lines, you can see that they highlight orange. So that means I can put my center of my circle on this line, or when I come over, you can see the square. Now that's a midpoint of that line. And then I can actually snap the center of my circle to the midpoint. So that's what I'm going to use down here. Because I want my semicircle to be like this, I'm going to go ahead and select the midpoint of this line down here. Now, as I move my mouse around, you can see my circle being changed. So I'm just going to go ahead and click. And now, I have my rectangle box so that I can define my diameter. If you're using a circle, your dimension is going to be the diameter of your circle. So in this case, I want a 4-inch diameter. And now, what I need to do is get rid of the rest of this. So I'm just left with my arch profile here. And so to do that, I'm going to use the trim tool. So now, as I click and drag, you can see a line. That line, what that will do is it will cut any line. So like as I come over this line, it will cut it back to where it meets something else. So it'll cut it back basically to these points right here. So if I drag over, see how it cut back to that line. Now, we still have this filled in. And that's because this line right here is still enclosing this section. So we want this section to not be enclosed. So we need to get rid of this line and this line. So I'm going to click and drag. And you can actually continue holding your mouse and drag over multiple things. You don't have to do them individually. So now that I went and got rid of my lines, now we can see that we have this nice arch profile here that we'll be able to extrude here in a minute. So now that we're done with our side profile of our arch, I'm going to go ahead and click my checkbox. And then now that I finished, and if I move this around, you can move it around, rotate it by holding your right mouse click button and dragging around. If you use your either a middle mouse button or your wheel, you click and hold your wheel, you can actually translate it around to where it moves it around without rotating it. So now we're going to do extrude. So we're going to do extrude. So we're going to pull this shape out of the paper or away from the plane. So we're going to do this extrude tool. And now we need to click what we're going to extrude. So I'm going to do this close-in area. And now you can see that it's pulling it out of the plane. So I'm going to set this to 3 inches in depth. And then once I finish, now you can see that I have a solid block, solid arch block. So now, just to make this look a little bit nicer, I'm going to right mouse click and isometric. And then I can come over here, and this is where I can either rename or change my appearance. I can add materials, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and right mouse click and just rename and call it arch block. I'm also going to rename my part studio. So renaming these are important as we get into creating assemblies. I'll talk more about that later. So if we go into our right mouse click menu again, we also have an edit appearance. So that will allow us to change the color of our block. So I'll just select red and hit the green check mark. And now we have a arch block that is red and nicely named. So now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create another part. So down in the bottom left, I have this plus button. I'm going to click it, and I'm going to do create part studio. And once I do that, you'll notice that just like when I started with a new document, I have a part studio and I have my default planes, and it's a blank canvas again. So now I'm going to go in, and I'm actually going to create a cylinder this time. So I'm going to create a sketch. And then this time I'm going to use the top plane to put my sketch on. And then again, I'm going to hit P to hide my planes and N for normal. Now, creating a cylinder, we want to look at the end shape, because if we create the end shape, then we'll be able to pull that out and extend it the length of the cylinder. So looking at the end, a cylinder is just a circle on the end. So I'm going to do a circle tool. In this case, I'm going to start in the center, drag out, and then click. And then I want this to have a 3-inch diameter. And then that would be all I need to do for that sketch. So then I'll click the green check mark. And again, I have a 2D circle that I need to pull out or extrude. So I'm going to do the extrude feature. Now I'm going to select my circle. And now you can see that it's starting to pull it out of the page. I'm going to make this 6 inches long. Hit the green check mark. And then now I have my cylinder. So again, I'm going to rename my part and call it cylinder. And I'm also going to change the appearance just for aesthetics. And this time I'm going to make it green. So now I'm going to go ahead and create one more block. So I'm going to create another new part. So I'm going to hit my plus down in the bottom left, create part studio. And now again, I have my blank canvas. And this time I'm going to be making a triangular prism. I'm going to start with a sketch. I'm going to do the front plane again. And again, P for hiding the planes and N for normal. So now I have my blank paper here. So for the triangle, while you can use your inscribed polygon or circumscribed polygon, you come in here and click and then change the number, and you can create an equilateral triangle. I don't want an equilateral triangle, so I'm going to use the line tool so I can create a right triangle. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can start here and come out and then dimension your lines, or what you can do is use your offset constraints. So like vertical, then I can click here, come down and click my point here, and now I have my rectangular box that I can go, I want it to be 3 inches. So now that line's set to 3 inches. Now I can come straight out and go horizontal, and then again click, and then dimension that to 3 inches. So now I'm doing a right triangle that is isosceles. So I have my 2 3-inch sides that are the same. And now I'm just going to draw my hypotenuse line, and then now I have the side of my triangle that I can extrude out into a triangular prism. I'm going to hit the green check mark again. And again, 2D, so I need to make it 3D. And I'm going to use the extrude tool again. So then I'm going to click my triangle, and now I want it to be 3 inches wide. And again, I'm going to rename both the part and the part studio. And I'm going to go ahead and change my appearance, and I'm going to make it this kind of gold color. So now we're going to go on to assemblies. So now that I have 3 blocks, I'm going to go to the assembly. And now, again, I have a blank canvas. But the difference between assemblies and parts, you're creating individual parts. Assemblies is where you're putting those together into a bigger part that has different components. So to start, we're going to start in the same area, but instead of sketch, it says insert. So we're going to use this insert. And then now we have our arch block, our cylinder, and our triangular prism. This is why it's important to rename them, because if we didn't, it would have been part 1, part 2, part 3. And as you get more and more parts in a document, it gets really, really confusing. So I'm going to insert each one of these. I'm just going to click on the arch block and then click in my space. Click on the cylinder and again, click in my space. I'm not concerned about them overlapping or where they're at right now. We'll fix that in a minute. And then I'm going to also go ahead and add the triangular prism. So now that I have all 3 of them in there, I'm going to hit the green check mark. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start attaching these together. And how we do that is we use mates. So I'm going to use this fastest mate tool. So now I need to actually start clicking on faces or vertices or corners that I want to actually connect together. So I want to get this cylinder to where it's stacked on top of this bridge. So I'm going to come down and click on the bottom. So now I want it to go and be lined up on this side. So if you look here, the little circle, that right now it's vertical, which means that my cylinder would line up and actually come out this way. So if I click on that and just show, you can see that it goes that way because this face lined up with the way that circle was oriented. So I'm just going to undo that. I'll say my bottom's still selected. Now instead of having it where it's vertical, I'm going to go until where it's flat like this. Then when I click, now it's stacked on top like I want it. Now, we don't want it to hang halfway off. So another feature that we can use of the mate tool, we can use this offset. So if I click that, you can see that we have X, Y, and Z. And then if we look down here, we have our X going this way, our Y going this way, and our Z going down. So we want to offset it in the X direction so it gets more on our arch. So I'm just going to modify this X dimension. Now, how much we need is based on our scenario. So in this case, we have our cylinder that it has a 3-inch diameter. So we want it to move to where this edge is on the edge of our arch. So it'd be from here to here, which would be our radius. So taking our diameter, dividing by 2, we get 1.5. And then now we can see that it moved it 1.5 inches over, and now it's all the way on this block. So I'm going to click my green check mark to finish that one. Now I can do the next one. So on this one, I'm going to choose that one. And I want that midpoint because what I can do is I can actually come in here on this midpoint and line them up just like that. So that's how you add mates. So I'll go ahead and finish that one by hitting the green check mark. Right mouse click and isometric. And now I have my blocks that are mated. So now as I go to move these around, you notice that they all move together instead of all